Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Akakwadash. I want to say Shalom to our Knockout out there doing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's on the topic of, the simplicity of Jake. I touched on this just a little bit yesterday during my lesson. All right, that ran a little bit longer than I thought it would, but hey, I'm glad for that. Call all Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. But I mentioned because there was a lesson in there, by Elder Manata Zatba, the head of the camp, the elder of the camp down there in GMS, South Carolina, by the name of Elder Manata Zatba. And he made this lesson that I briefly showed, with Jake mocking the Lord and say, oh, where was God when he could have showed himself during slavery? And as I was putting, trying to find out what I wanted to do a lesson on today, that's something that just kind of resonated with me. There's a lot of Jake out there that's just simple. They don't get it. They don't understand. They're completely lost. They don't even know who they are. They don't know who the Lord is. They're under the connotation that the Lord's some white guy and that, he would never help us. And it's just, you don't understand not even half of the story. And I say, you don't know the half of the story. You don't know even a quarter of the story, really. You're completely lost people. And, some of us are waking up now in this time as it's prophesied that we would, but some people are, never going to wake up. All right. They're going to have to be put to death, Jacob's trouble and after, when the Lord comes back. And be reborn in the kingdom, and that's the only way. And they're going to be, very shamefaced. They're going to be, head hanging low for quite some time, because they're going to be aware of how they basically failed the Lord. Okay, and once you're aware, that's going to be something that's going to, of course, now they don't care if they fail. I don't care who the fuck. I don't give a shit. All right, I'm my own king. All right, and once they have the, because when we're in the kingdom, all right, we're going to have the law written within us. I can go actually prove that. I mean, this is a good one. This is. I kind of got the wrong one that I was looking for, so let me get the other one. Here it is. But Jeremiah 31 and 33, not Jeremiah 32 and 38, but Jeremiah 32 and 38 is good as well. You can go up from Jeremiah 32 and 37 really is where it starts. It says, behold, I will gather them out of all countries, whither I have driven them in my anger and in my fury and in great wrath, and I will bring them again unto this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. And we talked about this yesterday. The Israelites, all right, who really is called as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We're really Israelites. Okay, we're not black, we're not Mexican, we're not Puerto Rican, we're not Native American, we're not Cuban, all right, we're not Jamaican, all right, we're not any of these names, these arbitrary names that they put on our people. We are the Israelites, all right, and the reason they put these names, the reason why they put these names on our people is because, give me a minute. Hey Google, turn my light up by 10%. Hey Google, turn off the bottom light. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. 1 minute. I'm gonna pause real quick. All right, slack you for that. But no, yeah, slack you. I forgot my point. But yeah, it's Jake is just those are names that have been put on our people to hide us from our true identity. Right now, I can go and get I can get the tribe sign. All right, in case this happens to be, the first lesson that you've ever came across. But the truth's been going out for a while, and I think, a lot. It's not something that I think. It's just from what I've seen. It seems to be that a lot of the people now, most Jake know. All right, most Jake know. They just don't give a shit. They don't care. Okay. Um, People come by, the channels. I've seen them go by the brothers out there, and they know. You know, you're an Israelite brother. Yeah, I know. And then they just walk off. It's not that they don't know; it's that they don't care. All right, or as the Bible would say, my people doth not consider. Okay, they doth not consider. Okay, you don't consider. You don't give a shit, man. You're like the guy at the. You're like those guys at the end of the Tales of the Hood. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Right? Well, the Lord's going to show you what happens when you don't give a shit, man. And again, the 12 tribes of Israel constitute of, all these tribes, all right, that really go back to these people, all right, the Judah, the so-called Negroes, Benjamin, the so-called West Indians, right, Jamaicans and Islanders, right, Levi, the so-called Haitians, all right, that's Southern Kingdom. That makes up Southern Kingdom, which people just call those people black, all right. And then Simeon, the so-called Dominicans, Zebulon, the so-called Guatemalans, the Panamanians, Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, the so-called Cubans, Gad, the so-called North American Indians, Reuben, the so-called Seminole Indians, Naphtali, the so-called Argentinians and Chileans, all right, Asher, the so-called Colombians, Uruguayans, and Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, right? That makes up the Northern Kingdom, which would be considered, Latinos and Native Americans, right? So those are our people, but our people don't give a shit about that. They really don't care. They don't care about the Lord. They don't care about anything, right? They care about, the pleasures that they feel like that they care about, right? The things that they want to do, all right? They want to be their own gods, right? They don't want to have anybody over them. They want to smoke. They want to drink. They want to party all the damn time. And they don't want any rules. They don't want anything that they have to follow. They don't want anything that they can either mess up or not. They just want to, do what they want to do, and they don't care. And this is why Jake, is in the hell that we're already in, right? According to, as we go through the curses in Deuteronomy, all right? That's why we're under the curses in the first place. Why were the curses put on us? All right, well, we can go and get it, all right? No. I ain't gonna read the whole chapter because there's a lot to it, all right? And it's deserving of its own breakdown. But in Deuteronomy chapter 28, right at the top, it says, and it shall come to pass, if thou hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Now, did that happen? Did that happen? No. What really happened? It's down in 14. Or Slakia, 15. And it says, but it shall come past, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And we have all these curses. There's a lot more curses than blessings, because all the blessings, there's only so many good things. You have all these good things that happen to you. Curses, all these bad things, all right, all these terrible things. And that's what we're under. That's why, our people are killing each other. That's why we're being killed by, our enemy. All right. That's actually legitimately one of the curses. We can go and get that. Let's see. Where was it? Right here. Verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. There you go. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. So there you go, man. So that's why we're going under this hell. That's why we got, cops gunning, our maybe not necessarily our people, because they're not acting according to our people, but our bloodline, all right, our people that are of the same bloodline down the street, because that's part of those curses, man. That's part of that judgment that's going out on those 2/3 that don't want to get with the times. And really, what this lesson is, it's just talking about, the inconsideration of Jacob, all right, Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that they don't, do anything according to the right way it's supposed to be done, and then they complain, why bad things are happening to them. That's like, I go and jump into a fire and complain that my feet are getting burnt. Well, don't do that then, right? Don't do that then. Okay. So we're gonna get some scriptures here. All right, let me fix this mic. We're gonna get some scriptures here. All right, Lord willing, they will be edifying. So of course I want to continue on. Jeremiah 32 and 37, dealing with having the law written within us, which will happen, and then that Jake is gonna feel the shame for all the things that they did now. But right now they're not feeling any shame. They don't have any accountability. Okay. So this isn't the one I was meaning to get. That was Jeremiah 31:33, but I still think this is worth the read. So Jeremiah 32 and 37, it says, "Behold, I will gather them out of all countries whither I have driven them in mine anger, because we were scattered abroad, all right, because of our wickedness." It says, "And in my fury and in great wrath I will bring them again to this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely." 38 says, "And they shall be my people, and I will be their power. And I will give them one heart." It means everyone's going to be in one heart and in one, like it says, and one way. All right. No one's going to be, "I don't really believe in it." No, we're all going to believe. Okay. We're not going to have that fleshly wickedness, really, that's on us. All right. It says, "And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever," because that's a problem. Jake doesn't have any fear of the Lord. It says, "For the good of them." All right, we need that. We need that. He's gonna put that they may fear me forever for the good of them, right? Because a lot of our people don't fear the Lord. Okay, and that's why they're so damn stupid. All right, we can go and get that. Proverbs 9 and 10, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." That's why a lot of people are so damn dumb. They can't understand anything, is because they don't have fear of the Lord. And you can't you can't open the chest if you ain't got the key. All right, and a lot of you people ain't got the key. All right, the Lord didn't put the fear on you. All right, because really you were not meant to fear, because you're not meant to believe, because you're a 2/3. All right, and that's just how it is. And it's all through balance. Why does there have to be 2/3? Well, it's balance, man. Not everybody can be good. All right, that's not how it works. You have to learn what bad is. You have to know what bad is to know what good is. There was actually a rapper, and he said, what did he say? He said, "Poor is know it." Let's see. I can't remember which one it is, but there was it might have been. It might have been 50, actually. Now I see 50 down there. Let me see. Let's see. I wish they would just give me the lyric. Let me see. Let's see. No, that ain't it either. So there was a song, and or a freestyle where someone said, I was trying to find it, because what the guy said was that he actually, Jake, even in their wicked state, every once in a while, it says something that makes sense. Okay, but unfortunately, sense is not the strong suit of our people, because they'd much rather be senseless. Okay, so, and a lot of these people don't fear the Lord. All right, and that's not good for them. So the Lord, like it said in Jeremiah 32 and 39, "And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever for the good of them and of their children after them." Because a lot of this, not a lot of this, all of this happened because lack of fear of the Lord. All right, everything. All right, we weren't paying attention, obeying the Lord, because our people did not fear the Lord. Okay, so now the Lord, puts you in a terrible situation. All right, and is having some of his people wake up while the other ones still don't wake up. All right. Somebody, and you got to realize, not just because they're your people, all right, by blood does not mean they're your brother. Okay. There's people well, I don't really have whole lot of blood relatives really, but there's people in this truth, all right, that I have more things in common with, all right, than blood relatives, all right, and we can all say that, okay, we have more in common with brother so and so or elder so and so or apostle, one of them, all right, than we do with our own parents, our own family, because this isn't this. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a bloodline thing, but this is about coming back into who we are, and we have to be around like-minded individuals that know who they are. A lot of our family don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't know how to act. They don't know anything. They'll deny things. I'm just on the Jeebus train, right? Or on this or on that, and we can't really get along with those people as good as we would get along with someone in this truth, because we're not coming from a shared background. All right, that's not, we might have back in the world, but once we came into this truth, we shed all that, like a snake that goes through a skin shed, or like there's a certain animal's mulch, or molt, not mulch, but molt. All right, and you get rid of that old skin, and once you get like that, you have nothing in common with that old skin. All right, and that's how we are now. We were once like that, and for a lot of people, they think we're weird because they remember us as the old man that we killed off. All right, because so put off the old man and put on the new. All right, that old worldly person that we killed off that version of us. All right, he was an imposter. All right, he had to go away. We killed off that version of ourselves, and I hate to use the term because the Christians use it, but essentially we're reborn. All right, and they don't understand that version of us, so they might think we're weird, or they might be. I always use is there
Perturbed.
Yeah, perturbed. I was gonna say, I want to make sure I was using it right. They might even be perturbed by us, all right, which means a feeling of anxiety or concern, unsettled. They might be worried or upset or disturbed or concerned with us, right, or troubled by how we act, right, and perturbed. They might be perturbed by our actions and our doings and our personality now, because they're like, oh well, this person isn't even the same person that I used to know. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, what, you wanted me to stay the same, drug using, stealing and lying and manipulative, low life person that we all were. All right, some of us didn't all use drugs, all right, but a lot of us did. You want us to stay that, even if you weren't like that, me back in the world, just sitting. All I was doing was sitting around smoking weed all day. All right, wanted to be a fucking rapper and shit. All right, that's all I ever did was just, I wasn't, doing any. I mean, it'd still be constituted as crazy shit, but I mean, I mostly just stayed around, played video games, smoked weed, and rapped. That's all I did, man. And you'd rather have that version of us than someone that's trying to, strengthen ourselves, in the Bible through Yahweh Shemi Shai, and actually, be a decent person, and try to say, hey man, you need to be a decent person, and get rid of just that life is gonna lead you to nowhere. You'd much rather have us be on that couch, smoking weed and or snorting dope, or being a gangbanger, or being ungodly, than you would ever have us, being in this truth. And that shows you the lack of knowledge, and the lack of care, and the lack of fear that our people have, man. And that, and these people out here, they say, oh, you've switched up. Good. I'm glad I switched up, man. All right. And you never switched up. So fuck you. Right. So, you can be that same fucking, dude that you've always been. All right. And that's not the way to be. All right. That's not the way to be, man. We think differently. All right. We think differently in this thing. So, yeah, so let's get, and we can go into 40, because it talks about the same thing that's going to be mentioned in 31 and 33. Come on. It says, this is Jeremiah 32 and 40. It says, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away from them to do them good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me. Yea, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly, with my whole heart and with my whole soul. For thus saith the Lord, like as I have brought all this great evil upon this people, so will I bring upon them all the good that I have promised them. So, well, we were slavery. What you did, that was your punishment, man. If you stole, $100 from your dad, are you expecting not to get your ass whooped? You know you're gonna get your ass whooped. And would you call your dad evil because he whooped your ass because you went and stole his gun, or you went and stole $100 from him, or you called your mom a bitch or something? All right, would you call your dad evil because he whooped your ass? No. All right, no, you wouldn't call him evil. You wouldn't say, oh, he's an evil, violent, violent, evil, and he doesn't care about us, right? You wouldn't say that. I mean, some idiots would, perhaps. All right, but you wouldn't say that. But why is it when the Lord punishes you, you say, oh, the Lord just must be evil. He doesn't give a shit about us. He doesn't give a shit about our people. All right. If your dad whooped your ass, all right, because you went wrong, are you going to look across the street and say, oh, yeah, I bet my dad prefers that white guy over there. He never whoops his ass. He never whoops that white guy. But that's because that's not his kid to whoop. All right. And they do get whooped still by him, but not the way we get whooped. We get whooped for correction. All right. Esau doesn't get whooped. A spanking is for correction. All right. Esau gets killed. All right. There's a difference. Okay. What happened to CK wasn't a whooping. That was a killing. All right. That was vengeance. Okay. That was vengeance. Okay. And that's it. Okay. Well, what about Jake that gets killed? Jake gets killed, and then guess what? They go before the Lord and the judges, and guess what? They understand at that point. Edomites, when that happens, they don't go up and understand. They understand, oh shit, I fucked up. But that's it. And then it's not like they're not jumping around celebrating. All right, they know it's not a good situation, right? So yeah, man. But our people, they'll all Lord does for us is he just punishes us. We never get anything good from the Lord. You get plenty of good for the Lord, man. You gotta think about it. You're so busy counting your curses and you ain't counting your blessings, man. Let me grab this drink. But yeah, man, you're so busy counting your curses that you don't count your blessings, man. All right. And it's just our people are ungrateful. All right. They're just really ungrateful at the end of the day. But yeah, so Jeremiah 31 and 33, it reads, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. So it's going to be with our inward hearts. And you can go right here and look, we won't have to teach like this anymore. Jeremiah 31 and 34, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me. For the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. All right, you're going to be, forgiven of that, but you're going to be very shamefaced. And you're going to say, wow, I really was an asshole towards the Lord. All right, once you have the truth written within you. All right, you're going to say, wow, I was really a piece of shit. All right, I see why the Lord, did what he did to me back in the world. Right? I see why. And I mean, even when you wake up in this truth, you understand that. Back in the world, I was like, why is all this bad shit happening to me all the time? At least now, when something bad happens, I have an understanding of it. I get this. I say, okay, I'm going through hell, right? I get it. Like Job went through hell, okay? But back in the world, I'm sitting there smoking weed. Why did all this bad shit happen to me, man? This bad shit. This sucks. I'm sick of being broke. I might just rob a bank. Why does this shit always happen to me? Right? You wonder why bad shit happens with that mindset. Ridiculous, man. So let me see here. What do I want to get? Bear with me. I got it yesterday, but I mean, I guess we could get it again. All right, this is Isaiah 1 and 2. All right, start it from where we're starting point at least. Isaiah 1 and 2. Actually, we'll go from 1. Isaiah 1 and 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth. For the Lord hath spoken, I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. See, the Lord, they rebelled against the Lord. He brought up children and they rebelled, right? It says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. Okay, you can go right here in verse 4. It says, a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backwards. And then continue on. It says, why should ye be stricken any more? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. So, and you could continue on, man, on and on and on and on. And it's basically a rebuke on Jake about how wicked Jake is. So these are these are the same. Like, these are the same people that are like, where's the Lord? Why isn't the Lord hearing us? Why isn't the Lord helping us out? And then you can go at the prayers. What am I doing? We can get these two, right? So there's, well, I prayed, and the Lord didn't help me a damn bit of good. Well, that's because you're wicked as hell, all right? And you're probably praying to Jesus Christ, all right? Which he's not going to help you. There's no power in that name, all right? You can pray to SpongeBob, it ain't going to get nothing done. You got to pray in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashumi Awashai, okay? So Proverbs 15:29 says, the Lord is far from the wicked, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. So he's not going to hear. Here it is, you're smoking weed. You're like, well, give me a minute, let me put this down. Dear Lord, I really need some help right now. He's not going to listen to you. All right. Here it is. No. Here it is. Every time you click on YouTube, there's Hebrew Israelite videos, and you scroll past them to go and listen to rap music videos. All right. Instead, you say, oh, what is that? Hebrew Israelite? Anyway, what was I looking for? Right. And you wonder, why is everything bad happening to me? Well, that's why. Proverbs 15:8 says, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. So there you go, man. Like that's how it is. But our people don't care. All right, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Let me get some more. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, really, this is a question for you, Jake. It says, Proverbs 1:22, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Remember, that's why a lot of Jake's gonna die. All right, we can go and get that. My people are destroyed. I don't know why they say my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's the one that comes up when you type it in. That's not how the scripture goes. It's probably in the English Standard or the Christian Bible or something that it says that. But Hosea 4:6, it reads, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. So, and you got a lot of Jake that's just gone, man. Just gone. And did I grab Baruch 1:19, or did I skip that? I can't remember, but I'll grab it again just in case. But Baruch 1:19, it says, since the day that the Lord brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto the Lord our power, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice. So you can't say the Lord's an asshole, or that he hit us with a blind spot, or he came out of the left field or anything. He's given us several warnings, all right, in the past and the present, all right. He gave us several warnings. He said, look, right in Deuteronomy, he said, look, if you heed and listen to what I say and do all the things I tell you to do, all these blessings shall come upon you. Did we do it? No. All right. He warned that if we didn't do those things, that if we didn't hear, that all these curses would come upon us, and we still didn't care. And it was because of a lack of the fear of the Lord. Okay, and that's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All right, because if you don't fear the Lord, it's inherent that you're stupid. All right, it's a dead giveaway that you're dumb. Okay, because here you have this omnipotent being with almighty, all powerful, and you don't fear him, but you'll fear a dog that's barking. All right, you'll fear the ops catching up to you. All right, you'll fear your boss firing you. but you won't fear the Lord. You won't fear Yahweh Shai. All right, so how can you get through to a person that's like that? All right, the only way, is there was a cartel guy, all right, that I was watching on YouTube. All right, it was a guy, I don't remember who it was. It was a guy interviewing him. Oh, it was a Tommy G video, actually. Tommy G, the guy, the Hebrew Israelite? Yeah, well, I was watching him way before he did that stuff. I still watch him. I mean, he's an Edomite, so what's he going to do? But because sometimes his videos are edifying with the people that he talks about, or the people he get talked to, and it shows you the mindset of Jake. All right, in case you ever think that all of our people are just good people. No, our people are a bunch of assholes. But the guy said fear is one of the best. He said fear or pain is a great motivator. Okay, and it's true. Unfortunately, that's what the Lord. If the Lord couldn't get it through us through fear, all right, hey man, like you're not gonna listen, right? Then that's when pain and anguish and suffering has to come through, and that's what He did with our people. And that's what we're still in now. We're still under those curses. We're still in the captivity, and we're waiting for the Lord to come back and deliver us out of that. But that's just, a little lesson there. I don't know how long we went, about 31 minutes, but this is a little lesson for Jake to show that, look, all this really, this it's not like you didn't get a warning. It's not like it came out of the left field. All right, the Lord warned you, and you still didn't care. All right, the Lord warned you, and you still didn't care. What else do I want to get? I think I want to get a couple more scriptures. Jeremiah 4:22 is absolutely fantastic. Let's go and get that. So Jeremiah 4:22 reads, "For my people is foolish; they have not known me. They are sottish children." We got to go get what sottish means. Sottish means resembling that of a drunk. Okay. So, sottish, all right, a sot, resembling a sot, a drunken, doltish, stupid, all right, dull, stupid, foolish, especially from or as a result of excessive drinking, a habitual drunkard, all right, but it means resembling that of, sottish, doltish, all right, what's a dolt? If you go and look up dolt, all right, it means a stupid person. So the Lord's calling us stupid. My people he's saying my people are dumb, all right, they're idiots. Okay, for my people is foolish, they have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Our people don't have any knowledge to do good. They can tell you how to chop up crack. They can tell you how to, flip a bag of weed, all right, to make your profit. All right, they can tell you how to, run a striker and go and do all this shit with cars, but they can't tell you anything good. They can't tell you what sin is. All right, they can't tell you who the Lord's people are. They can't tell you any of these things, right? And and Jeremiah 5 goes back to the lack of fear. Okay, the lack of fear. So Jeremiah 5:21, it says, "Hear now this, O foolish people, and without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not." It reads, "Fear ye not me, saith the Lord? Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree that it cannot pass? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail? Though they roar, yet can they not pass over it." So, you don't fear the Lord. You have no fear of the Lord. You don't care. All right, you're not scared of what the Lord could do to you. All right, and that just shows you that really, as Elder Menatazatba always says, Jake's just a bunch of assholes. Really. Jake's just a bunch of assholes. You're a bunch of assholes. All right, you act like assholes, and you're surprised when you get treated like assholes. Okay, it doesn't make sense. So let's see, what else do I want to get? We can get Deuteronomy. We can go and get Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy. 32 and 28. It says, "For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them." It goes on to say, "Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end." All right, but going back in, it says, "My people doth not consider." All right, my people doth not consider. They don't consider. We can go and get that. Right here, again, Isaiah 1 and 3. ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. You don't consider, you don't care, you don't give a shit. All right, you don't give a shit. So what else do I want to get? There's a scripture that comes to mind talking about Lord. It says how many how Matthew 17:17. All right, this was dealing with a healing, really an exorcism, if you really want to use that word. A demon being exorcised out of a man, I believe. Yeah. And the Lord's disciples weren't able to do it, and this is what Yahushua said about them. He said, Matthew 17:17. Then Yahushua answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. How long shall I suffer you? And again, there with before Yahushua was on the scene, they were like that. When Yahushua was on the scene, they were like that. After Yahushua wasn't on the scene, they were like that. That's just how the Lord's people have been. All right, and even now in this truth, because these guys were following the Lord, but we still suffer from a specific amount of stubbornness that we shouldn't even have on us. All right, that's why we're still, even though we're in this truth, we're not perfect. People say, "Oh, do you not sin?" No, we sin. We go off, but we don't mean to. It's not going off like you go off. We don't purposely go out and eat pork. We don't purposely go out and try to sin or try to. Well, I don't purposely sin. Yeah, but the thing is, once you find out it's a sin and you continue to do it, then that's purposefully sinning. All right, if you find out that the Bible says you shouldn't be eating pork and you continue to do it anyway, that's purposeful, premeditated sin. Okay, a lot of the stuff we go off, we sin, but it's not premeditated. We're not, I'm gonna go and do this to sin. All right, we just end up doing it. All right, and unfortunately, and I can't give you all the examples of the way that happens. Like I said, always use the example. You might see some girl that you think's fine in a gym or a store or something like that, and then all of a sudden, her man comes out, and then you get pissed off because a woman like that, no women, first of all, should be dressing like that provocative. But they're giving you basically a free pornographic show, and here it is, her simp ass man let her walk out the house comes up, and then you feel bad because you shouldn't be looking at that but you didn't know because no woman should be dressing like that. But that outfit, is more akin to a single lady, right? And they're not even single. I've seen these, unfortunately, I've seen these women walking around, mothers, all right? And you can't even tell they're mothers, all right? They got their ass all out in a jean, wearing those jeans that pop their ass out. They're wearing a push-up bra with their titties hanging out their shirt, right, with makeup on, and they look, they like just a regular single, 20, 30-year-old girl. And they end up, being like 40 years old or something, but they got all this makeup on, and they got like 4 or 5 different kids. I'm like, what are you doing? You need to be a mother. What are you, not a whore, all right? You're playing the role of a whore, all right, when you're supposed to be being a housewife. That old saying, you can't turn a whore into a housewife. Well, a lot of these guys have, because most of these women's out here, almost all of them are whores, all right? So, but it's true, you can't turn a housewife because they're the same way. I don't need to cook, I don't need to clean, I don't need to. Well, what benefit are you bringing? At least those women, unfortunately, they're looking like harlots, but at least they brought family to the table. A lot of these women don't even want kids now. So you don't want kids, you don't want to cook, you don't want to clean, you damn near don't want to put out. So what it is, all right, that you was doing, man. All right, what it is, what it is that you're doing. All right, you're just like, you're just hanging out. I mean, so it's. That's relationships, generally on average are to build families, not just like hang around. If you were just going to hang around not doing nothing, I could just get a friend, right? I could just get a friend, and our spouses, and people that we were are friends, but a lot of these people aren't even a friend before they're for a wife. And so you're living with this person you don't even like, all right? So, and they're living with a person they don't even like. So, that's just how Jake is. Jake is, and Jake will like that shit. They like that simple shit. All right, they want those trophy wives. But yeah, man, that's pretty much the lesson. Jake is just simple. All right, they're simple. They don't consider anything. They don't think that what they're doing is wrong. They'd rather blame the Lord. No accountability, right? They'd rather blame the Lord and say the Lord has abandoned us instead of saying we've abandoned the Lord. And that's not the way to think. All right, that's not the way to think. That's an asshole way. All right, that's how an asshole thinks. But hey, as Elder Manata Zatba always says down there, that Jake's the asshole. All right, and Jake is an asshole. All right, you're acting like an asshole, so get called an asshole. Okay, so if you want the Lord to deal with you, then you need to deal with the Lord. All right, you need to call upon Yahweh Shemi Shai and actually turn to the Lord, not just be an asshole out in the world expecting something for nothing. Right? Don't do that. So that's where we're gonna close out. Right? Lord willing, it was edifying. Short little lesson today. How long did we end up going? Did we hit 40? We did hit 40. So we're gonna close out with that. Lord willing, it was edifying. Again, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKakodash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till the next one, Lord willing, shalom.